Hi, I'm Rita Heichenfeld and welcome to Love Starts in the Kitchen. Pork tenderloin are usually packed, and I've got this wrapped in a towel, 2 to a cryo pack. And yes, I've washed my hands, so don't worry. What you want to do is you want to wash them, rinse them off, not with soap of course, rinse them off and then put them in a towel to dry. That way they don't slip when you trim them and your spices will adhere quite well. What we're going to do is we're going to try to remove all of that fat, or as much as possible. And we're going to start with this, this is called silver skin. I want you to be able to look at that. See right here? This is actually something called elastin. It will never melt in the oven, so you really need to pull that off, because if you don't, it shrinks and then it's really hard to cut. So what we're going to do, you want to try to get all that silver skin off, and just any way that's comfortable for you is just fine. And you want to take a small paring knife or a little carver like this. I wouldn't try to do this with the chef's knife. Cut away from you or this way. And what you're going to do is try to remove, again, all that silver skin. It's called silver because it has a silvery appearance. Now, what you're going to have left, there's a little bit more here, is something called this real soft fat here. This is actually called, it's a type of collagen. Now this will melt in the oven. And I like to leave a little bit of fat on. But remember, this kind of fat here that's real soft will melt. This silver skin will not. That's what you mainly have to pull off. Okay, we're back, and the tenderloins are trimmed pretty nicely. Again, if you want to be a little more fussy, feel free to do that. I want to just give you a tip. My cutting board, I usually lay on a wet paper towel unless it has grids on the bottom to keep it from slipping. So we've taken all the fat off. Now what do we have to do? Add more fat. But we're going to add a healthy fat. We're going to rub these down with olive oil. And that does two things. It flavors the meat, and then also it allows the coating to stick. So we're going to do a little pork massage here. And we're just going to put it in our pan. Remember, olive oil is a very healthy oil for you. And it's really, really good for you. And it adds, again, some flavor. And when I was growing up, another thing Mom used to do is she used to put olive oil in our food, on our bodies. I mean, if we had an earache, she would put sweet olive oil in our ears. And if you're working with oil and not working with something protein like this meat, don't run to the sink and wash it off. Just massage it into your hands and it'll really be good for you. So let's put this over here. Got them nice and oiled, and I'm going to go wash my hands now because of the protein. Be right back. Stay there. Now we're ready to rub down our meat. And by the way, before you start, have your oven temperature 425. And you're going to think, 425, that's awful high. When you are doing a whole piece of meat like a tenderloin, high heat, short amount of time. The old days, Mom used to take that nice piece of pork and roast it slow and long. It had that wonderful layer of fat. Plus it had a lot of marbling in it. Since they re-engineered the pig, there's no fat. So if you do that, what you're going to do is you roast it too long, especially the small tenderloins, it's going to be like shoe leather. We're going to bring this up to about 155 degrees in the oven. 150 is even safe because we have carryover cooking. So let me put this over here. Oh, it smells like a Southwestern kitchen in here. Okay, there we go. And by the way, if you look at this pan, it's not too deep. When you're roasting things, and this is a good tip with chickens and turkeys and such, don't have a real deep pan because it causes steam to create, and then you won't get a good roast. So what you want to do is you can sprinkle and go as heavy or as light as you want. And I usually use one hand for dry and one for wet. So you have to be not ambidextrous, but pretty close to it. You can let these marinate in the fridge an hour or two overnight, and the flavor just intensifies. You can grill these. You can pan fry these. You can slice these into medallions and cook them on top of the stove. I mean, there's just no wrong way you can do this. There we go. Now, when you look at this pork tenderloin, you're going to see a fat side, a tail, and a head. Or this could be the head and this could be the tail. I don't know. There's a big debate. I call this the head and this the tail. Whatever. What you want to do is you want to tuck that thin side under. The reason is when it roasts, if you don't, that thin side's going to roast quicker, and then you're going to have a dry piece of meat. Now, if you were doing, and you want to keep these separated like this, and the reason is if you stick them too close together, again, steam is created. So this is going to give it a pretty color. We're going to roast it for about 20 minutes, and I forgot to tell you, with meats, whole meats like tenderloins, remember they're sterile inside. You're okay to leave them at room temperature, bring them to room temperature before you roast. The reason is you'll get a much more consistent roast. Say you take it right out of the fridge and start roasting it, you may have to up the cooking time. And I'm going to pitch this out because my hands have been in it and on the protein. I think this looks pretty good. I haven't salted it yet. I think we'll wait till later. You can also pour a little wine on the bottom of this pan. What I'm going to do is pour a little chicken broth because I forgot the wine. Here we go. And as I told you, this is a cast iron enameled pan, so it holds heat. It also takes longer to heat up. But let's go ahead and take its temperature. Now when you take a meat's temperature, you want to insert, and this is an instant read by the way, an instant read thermometer gives you a reading in 30 seconds. The old-fashioned thermometers have a thicker spindle. You can put those in at the beginning of cooking time. What I love about these is they're thinner and they're almost like a needle. They don't let a lot of juice escape. And sometimes feel along the edge of the spindle. If there's a little notch about here, you must insert that thermometer up beyond that notch to get a reading. This does not have it. This has big numbers. You want to put it in the thickest part of the meat. Remember, carryover cooking. I wouldn't carve this right away. Tent it over with foil, and that lets the juices redistribute. I'm going to start carving on the diagonal. Sometimes pork, I will tell you, is a little pink. It's okay. Since they re-engineered the pig, that's what happens. It's still, if it's come up beyond 140 or at least 150, you're good to go. By carving on the diagonal, you're going to have more surface area. It's going to allow you to do a one-fork buffet because the meat's going to be thinner and you won't need a knife. Plus, it just looks prettier. If you're trying to reduce your protein, your meat consumption, this is a great way to do it.